Hello, welcome to the conversation here on News Central Television. This is the program where we bring you all the latest political updates and happenings around the continent of Africa. I'm Benga Aboroa.
And I am Rita Omodia. Now, today on the conversation, we are going to be looking at the request of the Nigerian government asking Facebook and other social media sites to stop allowing indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, to use their platforms. Also, we'll be going to Libya, where Tripoli was rocked by gunfights after forces of the rival Tobruk-based government withdrew following heavy fighting between opposing militias. It's a very serious situation going on in Libya between the rival government, that is the supposed Prime Minister Abdulhamid Beiba, and of course the one imposed by the parliament.
The two prime ministers at the same time, and when that happens, it's just calling for trouble. And the Libyan situation is so complex, and I wonder what it will take to resolve that. That's why I will talk to our panel of experts later on during the show. And of course, our first story, at what point does freedom of speech do you cross the line between freedom of speech and hate speech? So,
well, we'll have that on the conversation today.
Yeah, so our focus today is on Nigeria. First part of the show, Nigeria's Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, on Tuesday revealed that Nigeria is monitoring Meta Platforms Inc.'s Facebook and other platforms to ensure they comply with demands to curtail hate speech on their site as it steps up its campaign for responsible use of social media. Minister Lai Mohammed's comments came after meeting with Facebook's team in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. He said that despite several complaints, Facebook had done nothing to curtail the activities of the separatist group Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB, who used their platform to incite violence and instigate ethnic hate in Nigeria.
Meanwhile, he further argued that since IPOB had been prescribed and classified as a terrorist organization, Facebook has no justification for yielding its platform to the organization to further its campaign of hate and destabilization of the country. On the other hand, the Federal High Court in Abuja on Wednesday refused to admit the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, to bail. Justice Binta Nyako, in a ruling, held that since Kanu was earlier granted bail in 2017 and jumped the bail, the court must first determine the real reason he jumped the bail before applying for another one. Now, joining us live on the conversation, we have Kunle Falowo. He's a media consultant from Indianapolis, US, and we also have Dr. Olunifesi, SURAJ, UNESCO consultant on media and information literacy in Lagos, Nigeria. Gentlemen, welcome to the conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll begin with you, Dr. Suraj. Now, the Minister of Information and Culture in Nigeria, Lai Mohammed, said the government has no intention of preventing Nigerians from using social media, but is advocating responsible use. Now, what is your definition of responsible use of social media?
Yeah, well, let me start by thanking the moderator for this opportunity to speak on this issue. Well, responsible use of social media is using social media to advocate freedom of expression in such a way, ethically, in such a way that does not bring about hate speech or promote fake news and does not lead to incitement. And does not lead to bullying and so many other social vices that we have seen so far in our contemporary society. So using social media responsibly means that there should be some norms, netiquette, we call them netiquette, in such a way that you are so careful of what you say, and that what you say does not have adverse effects on other people. So we have seen people who went to go and commit suicide because they were told that they were not loved, or because they didn't receive enough likes, ticks. And so you've seen so many things that social media have done on contemporary times. So we are using it. Social media has a good side, no doubt about that. The freedom of expression, the ability to own your voice, to also put up your opinion, and the economic and social other good aspects of social media is all there. It's a platform for self-expression, which actually is one of the key ingredients of democracy. But at the same time, if it's not taken care of, it could be used for other vices. And that's one of the prices we pay for liberty, for freedom of expression. You see, as people use it for good, it can also be used for evil, just like any other inventions in the world. It has its good side and bad side. So ethical use or responsible use of social media means that you are mindful of, you are tolerant. You can tolerate other people's arguments, and also you can dialogue effectively with other people, and that you can make that space safe for everybody that's using it, and that your voices should be well doctored, so that you don't affect where your own liberties stop. That's where somebody else starts from. So ethical use, responsible use of social media means that a social media usage without harm. You should be careful of what you send or what you share. You should know the boundary between free speech and hate speech. And then you should know that whatever you are saying, the opinion you are having are basically more or less factual and not something that is sentimental that can cause an uproar or can lead to a violent or extremist content. Being taking things too far that can affect other people's well-being or that can affect peaceful coexistence of people's society. That is the meaning of using, being responsible with the use of social media.
Thank you very much, Dr. Suraj. Now, Kunle, as media practitioners, how do we distinguish between hate speech and freedom of speech? Where do you draw the line?
Well, it's hard to tell, but what it is it's pretty complicated. Like he rightly said, the doctor rightly said, it's a thin line between trying to decipher and running the lines between freedom of speech and expression, and also promulgating hate speech and whatnot. But when we begin to see that your speeches and your words and the context or content of what you're writing or tweeting out, as the case may be, if it's becoming harmful to the public and it's becoming a serious concern or cause for concern when you try to attack the reputation of other people without factual information, or when you disseminate baseless information or alternative truths, like they call it these days, then we're starting to have problems. But going back to your question, when we start to have speeches that are meant to incite people to cause chaos in the society, that is going past the threshold of freedom of expression. That is causing chaos, and that is causing instability in a democratic society. And that's where we need to draw the line.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kunle. Now, Dr. Suraj, I'm sure you're very vast with happenings in Nigeria, especially with the indigenous people of Biafra that has been proscribed by the Nigerian government. You've also seen their posts on Facebook and other social media platforms. And according to the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, he said even those abroad actually making insightful statements. Now, you've seen this videos on social media. Judging from their demands, would you describe the actions of the IPOP group as so-called excesses on social media?
Oh, well, again, also we come to a thin line between freedom of expression and then censorship, hate speech, and free speech. Well, you see, what the definition of a terrorist group is very, very faint. It's very ambiguous, because if people are fighting for their human rights, the state, I'm not referring to Nigeria right now, I'm just speaking generally, the state can say they are terrorists. Other people will see them as human rights advocates. You see, so it's based on perceptions. But in this case, where federal government said they prescribed IPOP to be a terrorist group, well, from the other angle, the IPOB are looking at themselves as freedom fighters. And if you look at UN declarations, it talks about the rights. There are so many rights, you see. I don't want to see my word as, but there are so many rights, the right to be independent, so many rights. So IPOB will also claim those rights, that they are fighting for such rights. But, and so the government will see them as the terrorists. They might not see themselves as terrorists.
But sorry to interrupt you, Dr. Suraj. When you expressly incite a group or call for violence against another group, do you really have a right to? And under what laws would you claim you have a right?
That is where I'm coming. I'm just building up my thoughts.
Okay.
But really, where the red line is crossed is when you say you are fighting for your right, but actually you are causing harm to others. Like I said, where your own rights starts is where other people stop. So now, if your own action is now being seen as dangerous to other people's action, you are making statements, people are getting killed, people are being destroyed, life people or property are being destroyed, then that is where we classify what we call extremists. That is, everything has their boundary, but once you cross a boundary, then you can be classified as being extreme on some occasions. So when a speech is becoming insightful, a speech is breeding hatred, a speech is leading to killing of people, it's inflaming society, it's causing violence, then we can say that probably such actions are actually going towards extremist content, extreme line. And no responsible government will sit down actually, and no matter what you are fighting for, I believe people can fight whatever they are fighting for peacefully. You see, dialogue, intercultural dialogue, and peaceful, demonstration, of what you are agitating for. There's a right to express oneself, but not the right to inflame society, to cause havoc, and to destroy properties and life. I don't think that is right enough. And so a government that is responsible will not sit down and allow the human lives, the way of national security. You see, you cannot be a government in power and then you allow things to go out of hand. Remember also, there is also a report has only classified Nigeria as a failed state. And one of the reasons why it's being classified as a failed state because they say it has come to a point where the government in power cannot guarantee the safety of life and properties. So in that case, the action being put up by whosoever trying to burn houses, inciting people, killing people, where we will say that those are extremist view, extremist content. And naturally, it should not be allowed, and a platform should not allow such statements to go out. And I think this has been the problem of Facebook. It's not only in Nigeria, you also understand that US government have called Facebook to order. And one of the things this we're talking about them is that Facebooks allow all manner of content that can lead to national security issue. And one of the things Mark said, it took responsibility. He said they are not doing enough. So coming back to Nigeria, I think the government are doing the right thing. They're not just banning them first, by calling them for dialogue. I love that. That's dialoguing and telling them they're not doing enough. So government has not, what government is doing is in the right way.
All right. Okay, Dr. Suraj, please hold on that thought while I bring Kunle in now, because you've said that this problem is actually worldwide. So Kunle, do you feel social media platforms have failed in promoting responsible use of social media among both politicians, citizens, and disgruntled groups?
Well, they haven't really done enough in the aspect of watchdog and moderating when it comes to content of people on their platform, or their different platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the rest of it. We also have to remember that these social platforms are emerging platforms. They haven't been around for a very long time, and they're trying to get their acts together. But in between time, uh, it's very imperative that we remember that they're doing their best. They have some moderators, even if it's not enough, they have some moderators that look into whatever it is that individuals bring out. I know Instagram for a fact will take out some accounts, and Facebook will ban some accounts if it's seen to be not in conformity with the rules and regulations of the platform. But that isn't enough. They're not doing enough like expected. But no, we will get there as it is. Having said that, we also have to be conscious of the fact that we need to re-verify the information that we absorb as individuals. Now, if you have somebody on social media, and by the way, there's so many fake accounts that is being generated by politicians, by people with ulterior motives, and they come out and give you information sir, aren't factual, and they play on the emotions of people, and people, being who we are as individuals, we get very emotional at some issues that affect us personally, and then we block all the reasonings and we just go with it. But because you see it on Facebook, or your regular celebrity is endorsing a particular message, that is not a guarantee that that information is factual.
Now,
So
Kunle,
as
I'd like to
yes.
take you up on this. Do you feel a sense of double standards by the way some of the social media companies enforce their rules? You remember the former US President Donald Trump was deplatformed from both Facebook and Twitter. And we've seen a recent call on Facebook platform, open calls, and Facebook actually said they would let it fly because open calls by Ukrainians calling for violence against invading Russians. I mean, that the platform says under no circumstances should the platform be used to incite violence against others. And we've seen
In Nigeria also.
we've also seen it in Nigeria. So do you see a sense of double standards?
Well, every case has its different merits and demerits. And when you look at individual cases, you tend to see the way it's going. Don't forget, social media platforms are not government agencies. They're individual companies, international companies, multinational companies that are trying to make profit. They're trying to make money. Now, I'm sure you know how it works is to get the algorithm, and what it is, it amplifies the content, particular content that people are feeding on. So it is the collective responsibility of everyone, particularly when they see the algorithm is more of a computer, a software in the Facebook platform that kind of feeds into the information of folks, and it kind of like amplifies those particular content or information that's passing around. Now, the bulk of the matter, or the problem where what they're facing right now is that particular amplifying content, information, or messages. Are they the kind of information that should be shared among people, or among friends of friends, or colleagues of friends, and things like that? Now, they haven't really figured that out. Now, they're working on it. But again, it's a platform that is out there to make funds and to make money. Now, it behoves of us as responsible members of society to understand and to verify our information. Now, going back to your other question about Ukraine and Russia, don't forget Russia was the aggressor. Ukraine was, well, as it is an independent country who, were going about their regular business. And Russia, Vladimir Putin, being who he is, wanted to take over the country, and then we're having an outcry of support, international support across board for Ukraine. So, like I said,
So the
case by
support
case
also
situation will
includes
determine.
allowing violent calls for violence against Russians on the platform, I believe.
Well, you know, at every point, violence is not the best option. But as it is right now, Russia and Ukraine are in actual war. This is not. This is quite different from the experimental things that we look at. This is actual war. People are constantly dying, and people are being displaced every single day. The Polish border and all the other European countries among in that Finland and Poland and the rest of them, they are going through pains of getting people from Ukraine down to their country and whatnot. But across board, it wouldn't be fair for us to say let's encourage violence because the oppressor is instigating violence against a particular country. That is not right. But like I said, based on case by case situation, you know, it depends, and it kind of you would kind of like treat those cases individually. Now, again, talking about Donald Trump, now he's been reinstated back to Twitter. But why was he banned in the first place? Because he brought the idea of alternative truths, alternative information. Where do we even get that from? Now, these are words and contents that were meant to divide the people across board, black and white and Hispanic and non-Hispanic. And this was causing real-time trouble, real-time situations out in the street. Imagine somebody sitting in the comfort of his home and tweeting a particular message, go in there and cause chaos. And somebody from somewhere got emotional and ignited and just went along with that particular information. It's done it times and times and times,
Okay.
and public
Kunle,
outcry.
now still talking about incisive and of course divisive statements. Let's bring in Dr. Suraj now. In order to curb these excesses, which we're seeing on social media, we know that Nigeria actually placed a ban on Twitter last year, which of course has been revoked after the platform deleted a tweet by the president, which supposedly incited violence against the IPOP group. Now we've seen a country banning a particular platform due to insightful statements. So did you see that move as a bad one from the presidency? And do we foresee a ban on Facebook if it actually fails to comply?
Well, like I said, the Twitter ban was quite unfortunate because the government probably did not consult widely enough before they take that action. Like my colleague said, there are businesses attached to these things. So many people live on Twitter for their economic well-being. Many youths are into it. And so, even though the government said because the president made some comment, some people actually reported the president to Twitter. And there are guidelines in Twitter that says, okay, when you report, and then they find that that content is inciting, irrespective of that person, just like Trump, the person will be brought down. And so that what happened. So the government also should, in the case of Twitter, should also like be reporting who they want to report to Twitter. I don't think that was done that time. But now, the government is taking that decision right now. But now saying that we have reported so many of these activities of IPOP. I think I read the reports of recent of BBC reports on how IPOP, all the statements of IPOP at their time to incite. Probably that is what the public got, actually, I don't know. But they are now saying we have reported and we have not seen any action from your hand. So if it continues, because you must have a nation before you can use the social media. If you continue this way, government are not the first thing they've reported. They didn't see action. They have come, they've called them, which is intercultural dialogue. And they have said we will continue to monitor if our action has taken. Since you can remove the president, and we are not telling you about the other people's hands, and you are not doing anything, then the government have the right to ban Facebook because they have exhausted all the dialogue. They've made their point. Their point is clear. This aspect of Facebook is different from Twitter. In the Twitter, government was not reporting. Government did not dialogue, just wake up and then ban Twitter. That's unfortunate. This time around now, they have called Facebook, they've made report to Facebook, and they have called them, they had a meeting with them, and the whole world knew what is happening based also on BBC report. So if the government now took action, they're justified. Because Facebook cannot say, don't know what is happening. And like we said, we must have a nation before we have a country.
Thank you very much, Dr. Suraj. I'd like to say a very big thank you to you, Kunle, Falowo, and Dr. Olunifesi Suraj for joining us on the conversation to discuss this issue. Thank you very much for your insights and your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you. My pleasure.
You're watching The Conversation on News Central Television. We'll go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll be looking at the political crisis in Libya. Do stay with us. We'll be right back.